Ice Cube. Because Ice Cube has come out and given everybody some brutal truth. Sorry, Angel Reese, the $5 million offer was only for Caitlin Clark.
Personal, but it was business. That's all it is, business. Y'all gonna make it personal though. Happened to Miss Angel Reese. She's all in Indiana during All-Star, and her Reebok campaign, come to your trap, take over your trap.
You would think by now the WNBA would have learned how to protect its stars. But nope, here we are again, watching one of the league's most marketable faces carted off the floor while the so-called referees were busy twiddling their whistles. The moment Sophie Cunningham's knee buckled, you could feel the season tilt, the air sucked out of the arena, fans clutching their heads like they just watched their house collapse in real time. And yet, while Sophie writhed in pain, while her family's hearts dropped into their stomachs, Bria Hartley walked away smirking.
Yeah, she's a great player. No, the thing with Caitlin Clark, it was just to unlock millions of dollars for the league because of her stardom, what our sponsors was telling us.
Right.
They didn't tell us the same thing about Angel Reese, so I don't know if we can make that. I don't know if we can make that same offer.
I see. So, maybe an adjusted amount.
I think we can make that same offer because it won't have the same impact to the league.
Smirking. Like the villain in a bad Disney reboot nobody asked for. That image didn't just get captured, it became the story, a single freeze frame traveling faster than the ball itself, replayed, zoomed in, slowed down, dissected like it was the Zapruder film. Forget the collision for a second, forget the chaos of the play. All anyone wanted to talk about was that grin. Because here's the reality. If this were just an unlucky fall, a tangled mess of legs in a fast game, people might have let it slide. But when you already carry a reputation for reckless antics, ejections, scuffles, the infamous hair pull with Angel Reese, the second you look back smiling at an injured opponent, you're no longer just unlucky. You're branded. You're the villain in the script whether you meant to be or not. Fans weren't asking if this was intentional. They were screaming, "How dirty does it have to get before the league does something?" And to make it worse, Hartley doubled down without even realizing it. That sinister smile was followed by the most suspicious move you can make in 2025. She pulled the plug on her social media. Posts gone. Accounts locked down. The basketball equivalent of wiping fingerprints off the knife when the police are already outside the door. Now, let's slow this down, because in the heat of the outrage, people forget how it all unfolded. The Fever and their opponents were trading blows, high pace, back and forth. Then Hartley barreled into Sophie at an awkward angle, colliding with her planted leg. Sophie drops instantly, clutching her knee, and the building goes silent except for gasps. Trainers rush in. Teammates gather around. And what does Hartley do? Glances back, and that camera catches the smirk. A smirk that's going to haunt her for the rest of her career. And you know it's bad when the conversation stops being about the scoreboard and starts being about the look on your face. That's the power of perception in sports. Because once that image hit social media, it was over. Freeze frames, captions, angry fans demanding suspensions, highlight reels repurposed as hit pieces. And the internet, being the internet, started digging receipts. Old clips resurfaced, the shove, the hair pull, the chippy fouls. Suddenly, this wasn't one bad moment. It was a dossier. The prosecution rested its case and Twitter was the jury. Fans even started compiling lists. Death, taxes, and Bria Hartley being at the scene of the crime. Brutal. But fair? That depends on who you ask. And it wasn't just the fans. Sophie's family came out swinging like corner men in a prize fight. Her sister Lindsay torched the league on X, calling out refs for caring more about punishing players for criticizing officiating than for actually protecting them. That post spread like wildfire because it wasn't just emotional, it was factual. Sophie had literally been fined earlier this season for calling out refs, and now here she was, laid out, while the officials swallowed their whistles until it was too late. Her mom Paula piled on too, flat out calling Hartley disgruntled and mean before deleting it. But once the screenshots exist, you can delete all you want. It's out there forever, carved in stone by the internet gods. This is where the narrative takes a twist. Because if you thought Sophie was going to sit quiet during her recovery, you don't know Sophie Cunningham. Instead of disappearing, she leaned in. She jumped online and posted 4 words that might as well be tattooed across the season. F around and find out. defiant, short, meme ready. It wasn't aimed directly at Hartley, but it was a shot across the bow of every critic doubting her toughness, every troll mocking Indiana, and maybe, just maybe, at the league itself for constantly finding her but never protecting her. That post blew up because it wasn't just words, it was Sophie reclaiming her narrative. Then came the curveball. On her podcast, Sophie actually defended Hartley. Said she didn't believe there was intent, that Hartley wouldn't try to hurt her, that they were cool. And fans were stunned. Wait, you mean after all this, after the outrage, the family firestorm, the viral smirk, Sophie herself is giving Hartley the benefit of the doubt? Exactly. And that's where you see the difference between perception and reality. Fans wanted a villain. Sophie wanted to keep it about basketball. But notice what she didn't defend: the officiating, the fines, the league's priorities. She gave Hartley grace, but she didn't give the league an inch. That's the line she's walking, defiant to critics, measured toward her peer, and still sharp enough to remind the WNBA of its failures. Meanwhile, Indiana turned the nightmare into a miracle. Down 21 at half, no Sophie, no Caitlin Clark, and everyone bracing for a blowout. Then Kelsey Mitchell decided she was done losing. She drops 38 points, 34 in the second half, and drags the Fever to the biggest comeback in franchise history. Odyssey Sims controls the floor, Aaliyah Boston dominates the paint, and by the time the final buzzer sounds, the arena that was mourning Sophie's injury is now shaking with disbelief. That's resilience. That's why sports are cruel and beautiful all at once. One moment you lose your star, the next you're writing history. But back to Hartley, because this saga isn't over. After that grin went viral, after the family's anger, after Sophie's faithful post, Hartley's decision to lock her accounts didn't just look like self-preservation. It looked like panic. Fans started whispering about suspensions, investigations, the league finally cracking down. Whether or not that happens, the court of public opinion has already ruled. To most, she's guilty. The smirk is the evidence, and perception is everything. So where does that leave us? Sophie Cunningham's season is over with an MCL tear. Indiana, against all odds, is still fighting like their lives depend on it. Bria Hartley has gone dark, hiding from the firestorm. The league faces louder questions than ever about why players' families feel more protective than the referees on the floor. And fans? Fans are left debating, was this just an ugly basketball moment, or was it the dirtiest play of the year? Here's the truth, intent may never be proven, but reputation is earned. And Bria Hartley has built one brick by brick. Sophie, meanwhile, has turned pain into leadership, refusing to disappear and instead making herself louder than ever. One smirk defined the moment, but how each woman responded is defining the aftermath. So what do you think? Did the officials fail, or was it just bad luck? Is Hartley facing karma, or just the wrath of perception? Drop your thoughts below.